look, given the fact that it's only the large incumbents at this point in time that are really dominating this space, given the kind of investments as well as the advance in technology required, that it is only going to create bigger and bigger monopolies. Anyway, we're living in an era of big tech. This is going to make big tech even bigger. Let's address that concern first.
I think this, it's a possibility, and technology tends to trend that way in general. But I'd say in every generation of new technology that's come along, there's been this fear. When the web came along, people thought that an Amazon would be absolutely dominant in every aspect of the web. There are hundreds of vendors on the web today, if not thousands, tens of thousands. When the mobile phone came along, people thought that one company would dominate. There are a couple of big companies in that space, but there are thousands of other companies. Most of the ecosystem in countries like India and the US are built on top of mobile operating systems out there. So there is this fear, but I think there is also a way where government, private systems, private companies, and then the public sector in general, and nonprofits, the society has come together to chart the course forward. Sometimes it's through, self-regulation of these industries. Sometimes it's through light regulation from governments. Sometimes it's through some global sort of understanding. When it comes to AI, I think we're in the very early days. Nobody's dominant right now. OpenAI itself is a startup. And you've got, some regulatory approaches from countries like China coming in as well. I don't think it's a time for heavy regulation or even light. We're still discovering what's going on. Let's not, stop the growth of this thing before it's even started.
Okay, so how do you then respond to the call by Elon Musk and several others who have said that, let's pause on this for 6 months. Let's understand what we're dealing with. Let's see what is the regulatory framework, the regulatory architecture that we need to put in place to ensure that there is no abuse and misuse. Do you think that that is a fair ask, Dev?
No, I don't think so. I think that's unrealistic. What's going to happen and what ban are you going to put on what? This is a global capitalist economy. What global ban has ever worked on anything? I don't think that's possible. I think we just have to go forward respectfully and with intent to build technologies that benefit companies and consumers and governments. And we should have that conversation. It's absolutely a valid conversation. There's nothing wrong with it, but I don't think banning, helps. What happens in 6 months? Is the world going to be very different? No. What happens in a year? Bans don't work. I think we just have to have the discussion and put in some of the safeguards. An example would be consent-based stuff like we're doing with with what's happening in India, but there could be other mechanisms as well.
But Anirudh, let's address the other fear, and this is something that you spoke of as well. Now, there's a Goldman Sachs report that says 300 million full-time jobs could be lost due to the kind of automation that we're likely to see on account of the use of ChatGPT and other such applications. Now, how do you respond to that? Because you said it's not going to replace humans, it's going to be human plus.
Got it. Shreen, I think I think it's every evolution of, it's human evolution in very simple terms, right? As technology becomes more and more stronger, I feel if we are to compare 5 functions that a human was doing earlier, right? Definitely technology has the means to do those, say 4 out of those 5 functions even better, which basically means it's time how humans evolve and adapt to better skill set. And I feel what data science, machine learning, AI did, especially as an education framework over the last 10 years, where we've seen over hundreds and thousands of data scientists across the world. Data science has become an educational framework on which people have upskilled. I think AI is going to become that framework, which basically means we'll see over millions of AI jobs created, which involve dealing and working with AI on a day-to-day basis, and people get smarter about its usage and acquire more skills that allow them to get better. Like, you can clearly see that in our business, creators. So the answer is not creators will get disrupted or automated. It's creators who haven't been able to leverage and use AI well will probably be disrupted, which basically means it's also an
Yeah.
opportunity for people to get better. And that's what we're seeing across different forums, different professions, be it accounting, be it law, be it content for that matter. And I think this will usher in a new knowledge economy where AI is actually a co-pilot in every task or function there is.
The hypothesis that's being put forward is that we are going to see massive productivity gains. But a lot of economists point out that through the course of the last 2 decades, even with the advent of new technologies, 2G, 4G, now we're talking about 5G and so on and so forth, there hasn't been that kind of productivity gain that was expected or anticipated that we've seen. So, are we overhyping this productivity gain argument?
Over here, we are seeing it clearly in the usage that people are actually using it for work-related use cases, and people are getting real direct benefits in their day-to-day lives. Let's say if you were a developer maybe 20, 30 years back, you would have to write code in C. Today, developers are writing it in Python. Like Python is now the most popular language. 5 to 10 years down the line, there's a good chance that we will be writing code in natural language. Just think about it. There are so many tools currently out there who are, automating SQL and letting people write SQL queries in natural language. It's a massive productivity gain. Just think about it. Currently, there are 30 million developers. What if, using natural language, we can train 1 billion developers? That is something which is possible out of this new technology. And if you see, maybe in the short horizon, we are not seeing productivity gains using 2G, 4G, and these other stuff, right? But if we see using computers, what we have been able to achieve, or using internet, what we have been able to achieve, this kind of a shift which we are seeing through right now is an equivalent shift with respect to internet and with respect to computer. It's not something which is gimmicky or which is just a hype, because when you see actual usage, when you see a developer using natural language to write code, that is as real as it gets.
What's happening in India within this ecosystem? What does the AI portfolio for Lightspeed look like? And what are the unexplored niches, Dev, that you potentially see headroom for significant growth?
Yeah, Lightspeed's portfolio, we've been investing in AI for the last 10 years. It's not a new thing. It's been on a gradual ramp, and I think we're seeing a very public, consumer-oriented sort of reaction now with ChatGPT. But we've got investments in 3 broad areas, and I think the ecosystem broadly breaks down into 2 broad areas. One is the large language models, or LLMs. These are companies like OpenAI. We've already talked about those. The second is the consumer-facing or enterprise-facing applications. Pepper and Merlin are examples of those, but there are lots of others in the market. We've got a company called Circle Labs that helps consumers interact with characters that are speaking in real time, that talk to them. Could be a doctor, for example, in the future, a doctor's assistant, could be a teacher, etc. And we've got various other application-oriented companies. Yellow.ai is another one in India, which is doing customer support using AI, including generative AI. So that's the second category. And the third category, which is a big area of focus for us, is in the middle, which is the technologies to make the LLMs programmable, secure, private, all of those problems that we've been talking about right now. And there's a bunch of companies coming along that area: vector databases, prompt engineering, observability, developer tools. There's a bunch of other technical stuff happening there that is very, very large, and very big companies have been built on previous generations of the web and mobile and those sorts of things. So those are the 3 categories. When it comes to India, I've seen less on the LLM side itself. I think that requires billions of dollars to go build those LLMs. Although, as recently as last week, we've seen a 7 billion parameter LLM running on a MacBook, open source. So that trend on cost coming down while functionality going up is very, very apparent. Kind of like Moore's law, but applied to AI on steroids. And so we see less of that in India, but we expect to see more open source, etc., being adopted in India. We see much more happening on the application side, companies like Merlin and Pepper and Yellow and others. But then we see a whole new category of tools coming in the middle. We've even signed a couple of term sheets in the last 2 weeks in this middle layer in India. So we see a lot more coming along there.
Anirudh, I'll start by asking you, what's the priority? What is the if you have visibility on the next 12 to 18 months, what does it look like for you?
I think every company in the world today is mandated now almost to either integrate AI in their systems or have other application-based companies grow faster in product development and outbeat them, which basically means that I think every business out there which is going digital sooner or later will have to adapt to AI. And that's what we are seeing across all our customers, even for Pepper. I think we always say every company is going to be a content company. I might probably add an AI content company or that part for all of us out there.
Okay, that's a challenge that you're putting up for me. I have to then steer this ship to becoming an AI content-driven ship as well. But Pratyush, I'll give you the final say.
Yeah, I think, Shireen, for us at Merlin, the direction which we are taking is that everywhere any human reads or writes, we are going to be there to help them integrate AI over there. And we are going to help them do their job in a much faster, much more creative manner. I think we are very fortunate enough that we live in a particular time wherein, small companies like us can actually move fast, can actually, invest deeply, thanks to also our investors, Better Capital, to, take a bet on this space and on us. I think what we are not, the only limitation currently which we have as a company and as an entire Indian economy is our own imagination. What all interesting use cases or applications can you imagine which can, drastically improve your productivity? For example, Pepper Content is doing it very well for content creators. Merlin is doing very well for browser and general browser productivity. Yeah. I think the final question for all of the watchers over here is, what is it that you can imagine which can be enabled by AI? So that is where, like, traditionally Merlin and all other players are, I think, going.
We're going to have to continue this dialogue as we look at this reimagination that you speak of and the disruption that all three of you have talked about. It's not going to be done here in this one conversation, but Dev, Anirudh and Pratyush, many, many thanks for joining us here to talk to us about what's happening here in India in the generative AI space. More importantly, what the opportunities and the landscape could potentially look like. We will have you back to chat about this some more. For now, we will say goodbye on this edition of Young Turks. From all of us here, thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned. The news continues on CNBC-TV18.